Thank you everyone for joining. Definitely as inauguration week comes up, we just want to keep the state of our nation, I guess, uplifted in prayer and thoughts and, just positive vibes, especially as the 20th comes around very quickly. With this new administration coming in and a current one, transitioning out. So I'm currently in the DC area, so I'm staying out of the city for the next couple of days because the roadblocks and closures are ridiculous right now. So navigating the city isn't up to par right now, I guess I should say. So just keeping the state of our nation in our thoughts.
Yes, thank you. And again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk, Gen X and Y, and Race in America, a virtual conversation between young women of color as they navigate through the emotional impact of systemic racism following the last year's racial injustices. This discussion is presented by Shades Magazine, celebrating all women of color, an online publication and information and resource site sponsored by Exceptional Women in Publishing, also known as EWIP. My name is Michelle FITZHUGH-CRAIG, and I am president of the EWIP Board of Directors and the publisher and founder of Shades Magazine. Before we get started, I'd like to get some housekeeping matters out of the way, as we always do. Our producers have muted your mic. However, if it is not, please be sure to mute your mic now. For those new to Zoom, you can find the tools bar at the top of your screen or hovering your mouse along the bottom of your screen. There you can find the chat room and other tools you may need or want during today's talk. If you have comments or questions for today's guest, you may place them in the chat and they will be read by today's host. Please be sure to include your name and city. You can also ask your question anonymously. Feel free to disable your video if you so choose. We also have a lot of viewpoints that will be shared today. A reminder to be respectful of all guests and participants. It is important to note Shades Magazine and its fiscal sponsor, Women in Periodical Publishing, or Exceptional Women in Publishing, is a non-political, non-partisan organization, and as an entity does not support or endorse any political candidates or campaigns. The opinions, viewpoints, and or personal endorsements expressed in any published print, audio, or video content like today's talk are those of the individual only and do not necessarily represent the views of Shades Magazine or Women in Periodical Publishing. We are recording today's session for viewing on the Shades website and on our YouTube channel next week. So let's begin. I'd like to now turn it over to today's host and moderator. Sydney Clark is a New Orleans native, is a multimedia freelancer and current graduate student at the University of Maryland, College Park. She is studying multi-platform journalism. Sydney also is a contributing editor for Shades Magazine. Welcome, Sydney.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone. So today I'm here with some of our hashtag Real Talk crew as we're going to talk about the sounds of music, how songs impact the way we feel, think, and behave, whether life is coming up is giving roses or giving us lemons. Songs and lyrics have a way of giving us strength and comfort during rough times, as well as embracing our joy and happiness in times of celebration. And so I would like to briefly introduce our panelists for today. So today we have Sharkisha Cummins, who's a stay-at-home mother of two, an aspiring writer, social worker living in Rochester, New York. We have Asifa Akbar, a certified life coach and author, and she recently graduated as a licensed practitioner of immigration and refugee law, and she's living in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And we have AIDA, who's a singer, songwriter, and producer based in St. Louis, Missouri. We have THERESA BERTINI, who's a senior assistant director of admissions at Spring Hill College, living in Chicago. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining. And we're going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. Alrighty. And Michelle is going to drop a link in the chat to learn more, to have some more info about our panelists. So let's begin. Okay, so as you know, I like to start off with an opening question to all panelists. And so my question to you guys to start things off is, what is your favorite song that you are listening to right now? And you can go into your streaming apps if you want to.
I'm ready to start. Now, this is really, and I think Sharkisha might be on the same page as me because we are TikTok fiends. Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo is like, I have probably listened to it easily 20 times a day. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I'll listen to it 5 times in a row. And I'll just sit there, and then probably an hour later, I'll listen to it 5 times in a row. It is so good. And it came out of nowhere. If you guys haven't heard it, I would definitely recommend it. It's very emotional. And the poor girl is 18 years old talking about heartbreak. So, you know, it brings up these emotions that you remember when you're 18 years old and you had heartbreak, and, you know, your crush didn't like you back, or you broke up with like your significant other at the time. But that song honestly is on repeat for me right now.
That's awesome. Thanks.
I can go next. Okay. Although I do agree with you, but my song lately has been Satisfied from the Hamilton soundtrack. Okay, because I have been like, I can't, first of all, that whole entire album is just ridiculously good. I cannot, but that particular song, I don't know why, I have it on repeat, like ridiculous, like just starting my day. So yeah, that is my song right now.
Asifa or Ida, you have any favorite songs right now? Oh, I think you're on mute, Asifa.
I can't. Now that I've heard "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls," it's stuck in my head in a loop. So I can't really. No, nothing in particular. Just I just listen to whatever comes up, but no favorites per se. Sorry about that.
The one song that I have on repeat right now is called Quicksand, and it's a rapper named Moray, and he's from Arkansas, and I don't know, it's just, it plays all day long. I love it.
That's awesome. I think mine would have to be Off the Table by Ariana Grande and The Weeknd. So she released an album, like I want to say late of last year. And so ever since then, I've just been listening to it on repeat. So, and if anyone else has, if you saw my chat, anyone who has like song suggestions throughout the call, just feel free to drop the title and also the artist so we can all, just see what everybody's listening to. So my next question is, this might be a little difficult to think about, but if you were to describe yourself in the form of a song, which one would it be?
I know probably people need to think about it, but I already know which song is mine. It's by Mary J. Blige, and it's called Fine. Oh, I think, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
that
just Fine.
That's like my anthem. That's me in a song. So yeah, that's me. If you've never heard it, it's just like, you love yourself for who you are, and you're like, because I'm like happy with who I am, period, point blank. So yeah, that's me. That's my anthem. So yeah.
That's a good one. A really good bop.
So because my parents are in here, I will say, if I had to guess, and my mom can text me, but she would say Brown Eyed Girl. Because that, like, when I was little, you guys can tell my eyes are big, but when I was little, my eyes were like 4 times the size because your head is so small. So Brown Eyed Girl was kind of my thing growing up. My song that I kind of think of, there's 2, I guess, when you first said that popped into my head. But the song Treat People with Kindness by Harry Styles, if you guys have never heard the song, my mentality is just all about like treating everybody with respect and treating everybody with kindness. And and I love him, but when he came out with that kind of saying, treat people with kindness, like it's the background on my phone. I live by it. And if there's ever a moment where I want to, be rude or disrespectful, especially to someone that I don't know, like if I'm making a first impression, I'll look at my phone background and I'll even like sing the song in my head and take myself out of that situation. So I guess those are the two songs.
That's awesome. I do love Brown Eyed Girl. Haven't heard in a minute, but I do know the song.
I can go. The song for describing me right now is Toast by Coffee. So I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it's just basically talking about being like grateful for and being thankful for all the things that you have. I was in a really bad car accident where I wasn't able to walk for about 3 or 4 months. And that's
Wow.
like, I just needed it because I was like, oh my God, I can't do anything. But it was like, okay, I'm okay, I can do it. So that song just kind of keeps me in better spirits, especially when like all this like craziness is going on in the world. It's kind of hard to just like express gratitude. But for the longest time, I've been really trying to just show as much gratitude as possible. So Toast is my go-to right now.
That's awesome. I think for mine, so there's a rapper and it's a female rapper. Her name is Chica, and she like came out with a song called Crown. It wasn't recently, I think maybe within like the last year or two, and it has been like my anthem. So like part of the lyrics is, I'm gonna make it either rain or shine, all up on my money, don't waste no time, ain't nobody gonna bring me down. So it's just like, like an upbeat, like I'm on an elevator, I'm on to something greater. So it's like, just that mentality, that motivation, I think kind of describes like who I am and my drive. So Theresa said that's very you, Sid. Thanks. We'll get back with the Sifa, and she'll be joining us shortly. I know she's had like 2 intense rough days of training. So however you feel, to answer, like no worries. So my next question is, how often do you guys listen to music? Like, is it on a daily basis? Do you work it into a special routine?
I listen to music probably every minute of every day. Like I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I'm also a therapist. So even like during my teaching, I have music, I have my AirPods in usually. Like I'm always listening to music to the point where like people are like, do you ever stop? And I'm like, do you mind your business? But no, I absolutely love music. I listen to music when I'm sleeping. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm most likely listening to music to the point where it's probably a little weird, but
Hey, if that's your thing, go for it, Ain't nobody's gonna stop you.
I'm the same as you. I listen to music literally nonstop. It defines my mood pretty much. So like I can be okay. So this is true, and when I go grocery shopping. So I got a new phone, and apparently the new phones these days do not have like a phone jack in them. You have to like get an external, and I didn't realize it. And so even when I go grocery shopping, what I'll do is I'll just take my phone and I'll put it in the hood of my coat, and I'll just play like my music as I'm like grocery shopping. So like it's still low, but you can like if you're near me, you're gonna probably hear like. And it goes like from Hamilton to like Savage to like Spanish. So like, depending on what hour you catch me, you'll get a different version of me. But like, yeah, I cannot like, I'm not listening to music now because I'm on here. But if I were not on here, I would be listening to music.
That's awesome.
I am very similar. I will say I don't listen to it 24/7, but I'm rarely listening to silence. I'm just really into podcasts. So during work, I can't really listen to music because I sing and then I get really into it and then I get into the song and then I forget what I was doing. My boyfriend actually a couple of days ago, he has another space in the back and He walked in and he was like, girl, you are lit, like, you are singing loud enough to be on a stage. And we live like our walls are paper thin. And he was like, I love it, love listening to it, it's great, but we have neighbors. So because of living in the city, I can't really do that anymore, unfortunately. So like during work, I listen to like lo-fi beats or I'll listen to podcasts. But when I'm working out, I don't care. I don't care who's around. I don't care who's going to be listening. I listen to it on full blast. And you know, my boyfriend's the same way. He listens to music. He's like you, Sharkisha. He listens to music all the time and you can hear it. You can, if we go to the store, like you can hear it out of his headphone. I'm like, are you not deaf? So, and then at night, I can't listen to music to go to sleep, but I watch The Office. So I'm always listening to something, but, you know, it's not necessarily always music.
That's great. Asif, I think you're on mute.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, sorry. So for myself, it just depends on my mood. Like it's not based on any particular like thing that I'm doing, but so it could range from reggae to like Sufi music to R&B and hip hop. I just listen to everything. So last night, you know, I just after my 2 days of intense training, I just couldn't fall asleep. So I just started watching Bridgerton. So and I couldn't stop. So that's probably why I can't think of any music right now. But yeah, but I noticed that they do use a lot of pop, you know, songs and references right now, but in a classical way, or at least sort of a Baroque chamber music, befitting the time frame of the when the stories take place. But yeah, so I just actually recently, just to sort of calm down and put myself in a positive state, I've been listening to like waltz music, you know, like Strauss or something like that, just imagining myself like Cinderella or something like that. So and when I'm baking, sometimes I like to like I made some interesting dessert last week, and then I was just listening to like Putting on the Ritz or something like that. So yeah.
That's awesome. So that was actually a good segue into my next question, is what are you guys' top musical genres? So before we move on to that, I do want to have my input about how often I listen to music. So I think I come from, at least on my dad's side, we're very like musical. So my grandpa used to direct a choir at the church I go to now, like when I go back home. And so he, you know, can sing and do all of that. And then my dad has been in the radio business for decades. So he used to be a DJ. And so a lot of the songs that I grew up are because, you know, he exposed me to them and I didn't appreciate it at the time, you know, because every time I'd be in the car and listen to the radio, I'd be like, can we listen to something else, please? And he'd be like, no, you know, you're going to appreciate this one day. And he was right. So I'm listening to the same stuff that I dreaded listening to back then. So funny how times change. But so going back to the question at hand, so what are you guys' top musical genres? Like, you know, 3 or 4?
So I don't know if anybody that uses Spotify did their like 2020 Wrapped. I had no idea what genres, because a lot of music these days, I think, surpass into multiple genres, or, you know, the idea of like what genres were back in the day don't really exist anymore, because so much music right now, even if like, okay, for example, like Megan Thee Stallion or Cardi B, like, yes, they are rappers, but they're also considered pop artists these days. So it's an interesting like flow to see. So technically, my 3 top genres for 2020 were pop, rock, and rap, which is so funny because I am also obsessed with Hamilton, but they considered Hamilton rap as well. It's really interesting to see that dynamic and, you know, where everything lands. But yeah, I think, you know, rock is more because, like what Sydney said, I listen to the music that my mom raised me on, and a lot of that is considered rock. Because these days there's not that many people that are considered rock, like Harry Styles, like I was saying before, he's considered pop and rock. So it's interesting to just see how, you know, artists these days are blending into multiple different areas. Like if we were to look back and bring the Beatles into this era, they would probably be considered pop and not like a rock group. So I don't know, I think that genres now are so much more fluid than they used to be. But it was just interesting to see what they thought my top genres were of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else?
I'll share. I know for me, like I have a mix, so it's definitely like musicals, like Hamilton, Les Mis, The Greatest Showman soundtrack. Those are all like in my heavy top rotation. And then I also listen to like Spanish music, so I really like bachata, which is kind of like, it's basically like country music but in Spanish. So I really, really love that. I grew up like with that. And what's another one? Because they're so emotional, and each song tells a story, which is probably why I like it. Then if I had to look at another genre, I'm gonna say I like classic rock, like old school, like Bryan Adams, you know, like Summer of '69, things like that. And I think I like rap too. I definitely do, because I don't know, would Beyonce and like Megan Thee Stallion be considered rap? I think they are. So
yeah, I think I could see a little, you know, overlap.
Okay. Because I do like that. I like that kind of music. Like Beyonce is like just queen, obviously, to me anyway. So like she's anything I'm listening to, she's heavy in there too. So whatever she falls in, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you about Beyonce being queen. She's my favorite artist of all time. So yeah. Anyone else?
I think my top genres, I'm a hip hop head. I love all things rap. I love hood rap. I like poetic rap. Anything that is hip hop, I love it. I will live and die by hip hop. I love hip hop. After hip hop, probably dance hall. I love Jamaican music. I love Jamaican culture. I grew up around a lot of Jamaican culture, and dance hall just really puts you in like a whole different move. And I can't dance, but I love to dance, and especially to dance hall, because it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of like freeing. And then after that would probably be Afrobeat. I'm really heavy on bass progressions and like drum. So that's probably why I'm really into dancehall and Afrobeat as well. But dancehall and Afrobeat, just because I like to dance, it makes me feel really good. And I just love like how all the like kind of like Black cultures are coming together and creating music. So it's just been really great to kind of see that unity through music. And it's all kind of like meshing together, where you have like, oh, Drake is now with Popcorn, and you have all these dancehall artists who are working with African artists and American and Black American artists. I just love it. I love it. Like, oh my God, it's life.
That's awesome. Asifa, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I listen to all kinds of music, and so I don't really have, you know, like any top. Well, I kind of do, but we have the nostalgic songs and music from the 80s and 90s. So, but then I could be listening to that, but then I'll just suddenly feel like, okay, I've listened too much to that, and now I want something completely different. So then I switch to, I don't know, classical or reggae or like hard, well, not too hard rock, but I'm just like different types of music. My grandfather, actually, my maternal grandfather used to be in a jazz band, as one of his professions when he was younger, and he's no longer around, but he taught people to play the drums as well. So, I mean, he was probably one of my like musical influences, I guess. And he listened to a lot of the big band and, you know, Frank Sinatra music and all that stuff. So sometimes I'm in a mood for that, or I like to generally listen to music that makes me feel happy, or depends on my mood though. Like I, you know, I like power songs too. So, and I find like people like Aretha Franklin, her music and songs are always good for that. So everything, you know, when I was younger, now I'm probably gonna put myself into the age category or something, I don't know, but Michael Jackson was my favorite. Like, and the Jacksons, yeah, and 80s, and then 90s, of course. Like, I mean, I love hip hop too, and it's just so easy to, I love dancing. So, you know, everything from the older so-called old school, like Queen Latifah and all that stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome. I think for me, so I have, you know, different playlists on my Spotify for kind of like the different moods. So I have like a nighttime playlist where that's a lot of 90s R&B and like slow contemporary R&B songs. And then I also have a Zumba playlist because I do Zumba, or at least I did Zumba before the pandemic. So I try to, you know, keep up with Zumba right now at home. So there's like a lot of bachata on there and salsa, a lot of Mark Anthony stuff because he's very popular in the super world. So that's, I think those are my, yeah, definitely like anything that falls into like Zumba or Latin, and then contemporary R&B and also Korean R&B. So I'm a big fan of Korean R&B. So I kind of want to jump ahead, and since we have two people in particular who have some musical background, I'd like to have them share about what they've done. Like, do you sing, do you play instruments, and kind of like just your experience with music, and if you're a part of like bands or groups. So any one of you guys can share.
Wait, you can go. You can go first. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was like, I'll wait. So music has always been something that I've really been into. My grandfather was a jazz pianist. My mom is a singer. Her sister is a jazz pianist, and her brother is a drummer. My stepdad is a musician. Like, music has always been something I've grown up around. My family I remember like being like the only little Black girl who knew like Fleetwood Mac songs. Like, my family is very, very deep into music. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to. It's almost like spiritual. Like, it's a really big thing in our family. And as I got older, I was raised playing. I'm actually a classically trained violinist and violist. I play violin and viola. I got to play with St. Louis Symphony, and it was like, I was in high school. It was like the best thing in the world. And from there, I just started playing nothing but instruments. So there's piano, guitar, violin, viola, bass. Like, I just love everything about playing different instruments. But I always wanted to be a singer. And I remember like singing like rock music in my basement in high school, and my mom being like, shut up, please stop. Because it would just be really loud. And I tried to do like the whole screamo thing. It didn't work, but you know. So I really wanted to be a singer, but my mom and my brother were like, I don't know, maybe that's not for you. So I ended up like one day in college, I just posted a random like singing video. And after that, it was just like, it just kind of all fell into place. So I'm a singer. I actually have a project coming out on January 29th, which I'm really excited about. It's been 3 years since I put out music after losing someone close to me. But so yeah, so now I'm a singer. I've traveled a lot doing music. I got to play and perform out of the country. It's like, when it comes to like music, it is literally my everything. I love teaching and I love being a therapist, but there is like nothing that comes before being a musician. Like cannot I cannot like survive or breathe without, if I'm not being musically creative, I'm just like, well, y'all can throw me somewhere because I don't need nothing else. But yeah, as far as what I'm doing now, I'm performing and all of that. I had a nice little tour planned for the East Coast last summer, but COVID happened and I stayed home. But you know, fingers crossed something else happens.
Wow. So where can people find your music right now?
You can find my music anywhere. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, all of that.
Awesome.
I will link the website for it in the chat.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. I just like, we have a phenomenal person among us. So thank you for joining me. That's awesome. And then we want to turn to the other person.
I am literally, I like don't want to follow that. I am blown. That was like, that's so cool because I'm kind of on the other side of it, which is so funny. My mother is gonna text me about this afterwards. But, you know, she pushed me for so long to take lessons. So I've taken guitar and piano lessons, and singing lessons, and then I just quit. Like, it's such a normal thing to say, but I literally just quit. And piano was something that I restarted last year actually, and then I had to stop singing lessons and piano lessons because of COVID. But you know, I always like try to mentally be like, I'm not a quitter, but I really like I was, you know, and it's performing and especially playing instruments is so difficult when you first start, and it's so discouraging because you see all of these artists that are like, oh, I've been playing since I was 6 years old, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, crap, I'm 23. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm so lost. So, you know, it's something that I really want to get back into, but just with everything going on right now, I had to make priorities, and I can't, if we're being real, like I can't afford singing lessons right now, can't afford piano lessons. And it's just, you know, living in Chicago. So before I was in Alabama and the prices were so affordable. You know, I was paying like $100 a month for singing lessons. And here it's like $100 a lesson. So it's so interesting to see that change. But, you know, I still love singing. I helped create an a cappella group at our college, and we are on Spotify, which is awesome. And I actually had, yesterday I was feeling discouraged, and I opened my Snapchat and I had like 3 or 4 people send me Snapchats of them listening to our song. So, you know, I collaborate with a lot of other people, but I've just been I've been so lost with writing my own music. You know, it's really hard to do. It's hard right now, especially in the middle of a pandemic, to feel inspired. I just feel like every time I try to write something or every time I try to do anything, it comes back to just nothing, kind of like a blank head. I feel like I can't really digest anything right now, but I've been in like theater productions since I was, oh my gosh, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I started at our like little park district. And then I did that every year until high school. Then I joined the high school choir and theater. And then I thought I was going to continue with it in college. But as Sydney can attest, we are not very musically inclined at our college. I'll put it that way. So that's why we started that a cappella group. But yes, I will share the Spotify link. We only have one song. It's a rendition of Fools by Troye Sivan. And if you've never heard the song, it is unbelievable. It's pretty sad, but it's about Troye Sivan as a gay man being in love with a man that's straight, and knowing absolutely everything about him, like even the cologne that he wears, the drinks that he orders at the bar, but realizing that there's a disconnect between that. Of course, you know, with our rendition, we identify more with like toxic relationships of our past. We all sat and like emotionally talked about what it meant to us. But yeah, it's I haven't really been doing a lot of music lately. Like I said, just prioritizing. I've been singing to myself, and that's great. But just with my mental health, just focusing on me, which I think is really important for so many people. But I'll drop the link right now. And if anybody has any suggestions for mental block, please let me know. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ida and Theresa. That was really great. Before we move on with our questions, we do have an anonymous question from one of our viewers. And the question is, and I can drop this in the chat if I can. Let me see. Okay, I'm having trouble copying and pasting, so I'll just read it out loud and I can repeat it if necessary. So on Wednesday, U.S. Representative James Clyburn, he's the current whip of the Democratic Party. He wants a song about faith and resilience, long revered in the Black community, to become the national hymn to help unite the country after centuries of racial turmoil. So what do you think about the song Lift Every Voice and Sing? So it's known as the Black National Anthem. And what are your thoughts about that becoming the national hymn?
It might be an unpopular opinion, but I am not a fan of that. Just because I feel like that song has a special meaning to Black people. And I feel like co-opting it for everyone kind of like changes what it means and like the history behind it. Like, I'm fine with coming up with a new universal anthem, but I especially think, given like especially how divided we still are as a nation, I don't think that we should do that. Sorry.
Thanks for sharing. And for those, I can drop the link to the song. So it was a song that I grew up, from New Orleans. It's widely known among the Black community. And oftentimes during the Civil Rights Movement, that was one of like the anthems, I guess, that they would sing, during marches. So I really appreciate your opinion of that, Sharkisha. Because I feel like a lot of people, like I say, that would be a great thing. But will people, will understand the meaning behind the song and understand the history behind the song and like the weight that it carries? So I think if that can't be accomplished, then, I don't think it should become a national anthem per se. But if anyone else has thoughts, please share them, including our guests.
I agree with you, Sharkisha. It didn't sit well with me. I don't know if it's because like growing up and like hearing stories from my grandparents and things that people of our background and culture have been through. That song has always been like the staple of it. It's like that, always keep going. And I think even now looking at the way that we are still, it's almost like I sometimes feel uncomfortable when I hear like a really like dope old school Black song being used to promote Target. And it's like, but what have you actually done for people like us other than use what we have created to further your own agenda? So that's kind of how I felt about it. It's like, maybe use a different one. I don't know if I'm okay with you using any of the Negro spirituals, but just especially not that one, because it's just such a heavy, it really embodies the feeling of, going through the civil rights movement, even to now, how it's used for people who are trying to fight for justice and things that are happening with Black Americans now. I just don't think it's appropriate. Because that song was not written for all of America, because all of America wasn't going through, and is probably not ever going to go through what Black Americans have gone, are gone, and still going through. So I didn't feel it was appropriate. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, Sharkisha.
I'm trying to unmute myself. Thank you for sharing, Ida. Definitely, I feel the same sentiments that you feel. Does anyone else want to leave a comment before we move on? Alrighty. So my next question is, how do you think music has changed over the years? And it could be like in the past few years. It doesn't have to be, you know, decades. Whatever you prefer to answer.
I think something that's really interesting. My mom and I like to watch music documentaries or like history of music from the past. And I think it's really interesting that like when the Beatles, that era, you know, Mick Jagger, like when he was around, even Elvis, the idea that they brought like sexual energy, I guess, into their music and had women literally like passing out because of them, that was so taboo, and so many parents wouldn't let their daughters go and see them in concert. So many people were so opposed to the idea of having them come to America because they thought that, you know, they would like taint this American idea of music. And now we look at the music that empowers us, especially, I mean, as a woman, like the music that empowers me, like when I'm working out, you bet that at least 10 of the songs I listen to will either be Lizzo or Megan Thee Stallion. And it's because, you know, that music, I feel empowered and I feel stronger listening to them. And it's just so crazy to think about now, you know, that is so normal for music. And that normalcy is, in my opinion, is amazing. You know, just to be able to, any artist can sing about whatever they want. They can do whatever they want on stage. Their presence can be truly their identity. And back in like the 50s, if that were to happen, you know, they could, the artist could have gotten in trouble, or, you know, their producer would have said like, tone it back if you want to reach out to more of an audience. So I'm just glad that artists can be who they want to be right now. You know, music labels are still trying to own and manipulate people into different identities or different artists than they truly want to be. But I think now it's a little bit better. It's a little bit different.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Theresa. Anyone else have any thoughts about how music has changed?
Yeah, I agree with Theresa. Like there's what we see in recent years, and even I can say recent decades, is that music is like, when I was growing up, I mean, you listen to certain music and that's where you were labeled as, okay, that person was a, I don't know, in high school, like that person was a headbanger or this something else, you know, like it was, you were defined by your music. But I think just as we see in the fashion industry, for example, music has kind of gone through the same trend or similar trend where anything goes. Like really, you can listen to whatever you want. You can be 23 and listen to, I don't know, like the Beatles or something, right, Theresa? And so it crosses generations, cultures. There's just no strict boundaries anymore, I think. Like, so I actually like that because I like to listen. I don't like to be pigeonholed, and I like to listen to whatever I want to listen to whenever I want to listen to it. And yeah, I was just thinking, like, there's so many collaborations even between like, one that comes to mind is, for example, like Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, like recently, right? I mean, in recent years. So it can, and reggae artists singing with someone from another genre. Like it's just, it's like anything goes. But for me, it's the quality of music. Like it, and music has a the capacity to just transcend boundaries anyway. So I think it's a great way to, it's always been a great way to bring people together from different cultures and different walks of life. So yeah, I think it's just very, it's very powerful. I think we create those different categories. And to some extent, yeah, that you can distinguish different types of categories of music, but it's like poetic license, right? Like creative license. You can be creative with what you say, the words that you use, and with music or music that also has lyrics, like there's just even more room for creativity. So I think there's no limits really, from my perspective, and that's I like that. So
That's great. Thank you, Asifa. Would anyone else like to share?
Oh, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Y'all are so nice.
Okay. I was gonna say, I think music is constantly changing and evolving. I think of music as kind of like the tastemaker. Like if you notice, like what's popular, what's considered popular is what's music is doing. So not only with music, it's with the artists who are creating and sharing that music. What we view as like the trends, like fashion and everything else, it usually comes from music. So even like you have like designers like Versace and Gucci, they started making clothes after all of these songs. Like look at Nike Air Force Ones. If Nelly came out with the song Air Force Ones, and now Air Force is like one of the biggest selling shoes for Nike. And they really kind of created based around hip hop culture and just like, you know, just different like musical cultures. Like even with rock music, the way that rock music has changed, it's not the rock and roll of like Wilson Pickett anymore. It's like Fall Out Boy and things like that. And then you see like the fashion change with it, the attitude around the music change with it. So I think music is kind of like a really big like culture maker and a really big like taste maker. Even with like music from other cultures and other countries, you can see how it really has transformed. Like my husband is Rwandan, and their music, even like during the genocide, their music was kind of one of the biggest things that was egging that genocide on. And after people were like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. We're fighting each other over something that doesn't even matter. You know, like once they started, it wasn't that simple, of course, I'm not minimalizing it, but once the music started changing, a lot of attitudes started changing. So I think a lot of music's change, it even affects the world around us and how people perceive the world around us. Like people said, oh, Black kids can't do country. Well, look at Nas X. Like, not only is he doing country, he's queer and doing country. And it's like, why not? Girl, do what you want to do. Like, if the music sounds right to people, do what you want to do. Like, I feel like the music is really like a huge tastemaker. Even like with politics, how we take in politics. I mean, you had Kendrick Lamar's album, Damn, and it's like, oh my God, look at all the political, like, it's just, I don't know, for me, like, I just feel like music is a really big tastemaker, and it's a really big cultural point to where it can, even as music changes, it changes everything around it.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Ida, for that. Sharkisha, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, like, you brought up some really, really, really great points, and it's already in the chat because I was gonna bring up like This Is America and how I feel like the music, there's like a niche for everyone now. So like back in the days, they had like the anthems like Heals the World, but it was kind of a universal anthem, kind of like a little bit vague and all inclusive. And now there's like something that kind of speaks to every single person. I think, for example, like Lizzo with the like put your hair down, like I put my hair, you know, like stuff like that. Like every woman can like relate to that on like this core level. And like Adele, you know, like speaking like these real life experiences. Also, I also too love like the collaborations like country and rap like Nelly and like Florida Georgia Line. Like what? So it allows us to like really expand out into all these different areas that we probably never would have branched out into. Like I was watching Bridgerton on Netflix, and the music is like, what? They have like instrumental, I don't know if it's called instrumental, I don't know what it's called, but of like Rihanna, of like Ariana Grande. Like, come on. So good. Even like language crossing. We have like Justin Bieber who's doing like Spanish. and English. So it's allowing people, even who, if you don't really understand, it's like allowing you to just kind of expand outside of your cultural norms to experience something new and appreciate it, which is good because then you get this culture sharing and you get people like something they never would have ever thought of, like really loving it and like being open to new music and new experiences. So I think it's like just amazing.
That's great. And something I wanted to add, like, I think Sharkisha basically said what I wanted to add, except I would just add a word, is access to music. Like, I mean, coming from, you know, a person who grew up on just listening to the radio, you know, they play the same songs over and over again. And I think for a long time, you know, at least for me, that kind of inhibited or limited my access to how many other songs and artists were out there. So when I got on the Spotify, like my senior year of high school, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm, you know, discovering all of these new artists and like I'm, you know, I'm grabbing on different things that I like and different sounds that I like it opened up a whole new world. And so I think, you know, just having that access and, you know, paying for Spotify or Apple Music, whatever streaming service you use, I think that has been a huge part of how music has changed over the year, just the simple access. So it actually kind of leads into one of our other questions from their guests. Janice asks, let's see, go back to Janice's questions. What is your process for finding new music?
So I cannot stress enough that if you don't listen or if you don't use SoundCloud, you need to download SoundCloud. Like I have probably, well, when smartphones existed, since I've had my first smartphone, I have had SoundCloud downloaded onto it. It is, I hope my boyfriend's in the other room. I hope he can't hear me because I don't want to make his head too big, but he is like, he's a big reason how I find new music. He is born and raised in Chicago. I am from here as well. And he is super into supporting like new Chicago artists. And a lot of them use SoundCloud. And so that's a big way how I find it. Also, like everyone, word of mouth. I mean, I have friends that will send me new songs and be like, you have to listen to this. And I think we all have friends like that. And a lot of people ignore it. You know, a lot of people just scroll past. I listen to every song that someone sends me. I have, with a lot of my good friends, I have collaborative playlists on Spotify so that once we find new songs, we can share it with each other and it's a lot easier. Also, I have like collaborative playlists on YouTube, which isn't as popular, but I love music videos. I'm obsessed with music videos. Like I could watch music videos all day. When friends used to come over, they don't anymore, but we used to just watch music videos. That was like my thing. I loved it. And people would be like, please don't give Teresa the remote. But you know, I think that's a big thing. Also, the idea of like finding new music is such a good way to bring up old music as well. Like new music to you could be old music to someone else. So I have listened to a lot of new songs like with my dad, who's a big fan of like the Rat Pack. And he'll be like, do you know this song? So, you know, to him, it's a song that he was raised on, but to me, I've never heard of it. So, you know, new music is different pertaining to who it is. Like if someone sent me a song by, I'm looking at my screen. If someone sent me a song by like Katy Perry and they were like, oh, have you heard this? You know, to them, that's a new song. But to me, I've probably been listening to it since I was in 4th grade. So, you know, it just depends on who the person is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, another I think really good way of finding new artists is NPR's Tiny Desk series. Like I am obsessed. You can find them on YouTube. So before the pandemic, you know, they would go into DC. That's where the NPR headquarters is. And I actually had the chance to visit it summer of 2019. And you weren't able to take your phone into the Tiny Desk, you know, like office, because it's literally a desk. But it was just amazing, you know. So definitely I would follow the NPR Tiny Desk series on YouTube. They have a bunch of the artists that I listen to, but also it spans, you know, genres. So whatever genre you like the most, like you can find a person who's been on Tiny Desk. They're also doing NPR Tiny Desk at home, you know, because of the pandemic. So that has been a great thing. So anyone else would like to share?
I'm so sorry to butt in and then I'm done.
Go ahead.
But if you've never looked up Colors on YouTube, I'm about to put the link in here, but Colors, it is like a musical masterpiece. They perform live I'm shaking thinking about it. They perform live just in front of one color. The background is all one color. It's kind of like a box and it's just one color. And it is like truly raw emotion. I've watched some and cried before just because there's nothing else. It's just a color and it's unbelievable. So I'll put that in the chat. It is, and most of the artists are completely unknown. Like you've never heard of them in your life. Some of these videos have like 1,000 views on them and they are, this might be controversial, they're so much more talented than the people that are like on the radio right now. And you just are like, how are you not famous? How are you not known? So I'm gonna put this right now.
Thank you so much, Theresa. And so let's see, Sifa also posted a great link. It's a YouTube link for finding independent artists. So I love all of these recommendations.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just recently I've just been finding things like organically on Spotify and it just happens like I'll be listening to something and then they as you know, they bring up other related types of music. So then you just go on this journey and also it depends on who you follow. Like I was following Michelle Obama and she has her playlist and through that I kind of discovered this whole new set of music. So it's like it just happens organically, I think. So, and if I'm on, like I want to find really obscure things, I'll just go on YouTube and just kind of do the old search that way. I even listen to, like, I'll have a nostalgic feeling and I'll think, okay, what was this TV show that I watched when I was younger? And I type in the name and I'm just like, oh, okay, so I can listen to the theme song, right? It just brings back good memories. And yeah, so there's no specific set way that I find music, but I do tend to get into this, like, okay, for a few days I'll listen to this kind of music and that, and then I get bored with that and might change direction. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Asifa. Ida, did you want to add something?
I just want to say, Theresa, I'm obsessed with color shows. I can sit all day. Like I've listened to the Leanne Lahavas color shows probably like 1,000 times. Like she really just at home and she just sounds like this. Like you just walk around life and this is what you sound like. Like I love.
She's amazing.
But the color shows are absolutely amazing. Like they're just so like captivating. But if you like, and I posted it in the chat as well, if you like kind of more independent artists and you want to get into supporting us little guys, there's this platform called So Far Sounds. They used to do like private concerts where you would apply to go to the concert. You could bring like wine and food and things, and it'd be 3 independent artists or 3 very like small unknown artists who would perform. And it's all over the world. They have them in Spain, India, United States, all over. And a lot of them are videotaped. So if you go on So Far Sounds, and the artists have to be handpicked, like you have to apply to perform. So they're usually very, very like, so if you're really into independent music and like smaller artists, it's called So Far Sounds, and I put it in the chat. It's a really good platform. Thousands of videos. It's great.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to like take the next day or two to like just bookmark all of these recommendations, you know, so I can just start exploring. Because I'm always looking for new music and just like, you know, different videos to watch, especially because I'm at home most of the time. So just occupying myself, you know, in different ways. Um, so let's see. My next question is I want to go back to your childhood. Um, when you were younger, who were some of your favorite musical artists or singers?
When I was young, I was really into Anita Baker. Anita Baker, Tina Turner, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and what was the other band? Pearl Jam. I had like a really weird mix of music. Oh, and Spice Girls. I was kind of all over the place. So yeah, but that was like what I was really into growing up. Oh, and like old school stuff my grandmother used to listen to, like Otis Redding. Um, what is I don't even know a lot of the names until I like type them into like Clarence. I think he sings the song called Patches, like growing up really poor and like how he had to like be the man of the house, and it's like from like the 60s or the 40s, I don't know. Stuff like whatever my grandmother listened to is kind of what I listened to too. So that kind of really old school music was kind of what I grew up with too, and end up still to this day playing because it reminds me of home and it reminds me of like when I was young. So that kind of stuff. Like I said, I was all over the place.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
So it depends on what time of my life, but the reason why I started laughing so hard is because I was an emo kid growing up. So I've seen All Time Low in concert like 8 times. I am obsessed with them. Still to this day, I don't listen to their music anymore, but I'm obsessed with them. I've seen Panic at the Disco live multiple times, multiple. My first concert ever was Paramore. Oh my gosh. I've seen Fall Out Boy. I've seen Hey Monday. I've seen groups that literally don't exist anymore. And that's really like, I will never forget the first CD that I ever bought myself with my own money was Green Day, American Idiot. Like, and that album changed my life. That album is unbelievable. But if you want to go back before that, you know, my mom is a big music girl, big, and I love her music. Oh my gosh, her music is the best. It's now that I'm older, like I'll turn on a playlist and she's like, you like this music? So she's a big Joni Mitchell girl. I love Joni Mitchell. Oh my gosh, I love Joni Mitchell because of my mom. You know, she raised me listening to Joni, Bonnie Raitt. I'll never forget when I was younger, and I know we all have. So don't lie if you say you've never done this. But my mom used to play James Taylor in the car. She'd play a James Taylor CD, and I would look out the window, reenacting my life, like sitting out the window crying, listening to You've Got a Friend by James Taylor, listening to Carole King, Tapestry. Like that to me, because my mom loved it so much, I loved it. And then on the other side of it, when I used to do road trips with my dad growing up, we would listen to the Rat Pack. My dad is a big Frank Sinatra guy. So I love Frank. Like there's an ambulance coming. Hold on. It's really, give me 2 seconds. Oh, good. So my dad loves Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like those, because of my dad, like I love that type of music. I feel like, I feel like, you know, that type of crooner music is what I was raised on with my dad. So those types of music I love because of that history. But if I had to, you know, choose my music from my past, it would be the emo phase. And I love it. I still listen to it. I listen to My Chemical Romance like it's no one's business. If you guys don't know who Hayley Williams is, who is the singer of Paramore, she is one of the most talented artists I have ever listened to. Her voice, she has so much range. She has so much emotion. She started Paramore at 15 years old. Like, she is unbelievable. But also on the other side of it, I'm sorry, this is going so long, but I'm a big theater kid. So I was raised on like Emmy Rossum in Phantom of the Opera in 2005 with Gerard Way. I was raised, my first DVD that I ever played on the DVD player that my parents got me was Cats. The Andrew Lloyd Webber version, not the scary version that just came out. Rent, yes, Sharkisha, Rent changed my life. Like, I went and saw Rent with my mom. Lion King, the Broadway version. Yes, Jesus Christ Superstar. These are all amazing. Also, Jesus Christ Superstar with John Legend, unbelievable. So, yeah, just, you know, there's so much that says what you were raised on. And I think I was so lucky to be raised in a family that always had some different type of music. You know, my parents never told me I wasn't allowed to listen to something, which was great. Now, maybe Screamo, my parents would have been like, turn it off. But they never stopped me from listening to anything. And they were always so supportive of me singing. Oh my gosh. Oh, Rent on Broadway, I can't even imagine. And a big Harry Connick Jr. fan when I was younger because I saw him in the Pajama Game. So for you New Orleans people. But yeah, I could literally talk about being raised on music for hours. So I'll pass it on.
Thanks for sharing, Theresa. That was great. Anyone else would like to share?
So I'll just go briefly. When I was really, really younger, I lived in South Africa, then I can remember listening to ABBA songs. And my older siblings were listening to all kinds of, you know, funky music, like disco types of things, you know, the Jacksons and Diana Ross and things like that. So, and then when we moved to Canada in the 80s, and then, you know, I was like, of course, again, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and then in my later, a few years later, then I was into more like the British type of scene and the Irish music, like U2, and I love going to live concerts. So I've been to quite a few in my life, and I can't remember all of them. But you know, I went to see U2. I've seen David Bowie, seen J-Lo, even. When I lived in Ottawa here in Canada, there used to be this like big open music festival every year. It's and I mean, this is not when I was much younger, but I've seen all kinds of different artists like Akon and, you know, Snoop Dogg in an open air festival. So yeah, so my musical tastes are all over the in every direction, but I love like live music. I don't know if this is off topic now, but concerts, and I guess this is something that we are missing out on right now. And it just has a different vibe. And you know, when you're listening to something on your headphones and compared to just being live there, and it's a different type of energy. But yeah. When I was younger, of course, like my dad listened to B.B. King and what's Johnny Cash. So, and my grandfather, as I mentioned before, like he was into the whole big band, the Rat, was it Rat Pack? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, it's like, I was exposed to a lot of different music, so I have an appreciation for all of them.
That's great. Would anyone else like to share?
I'll share. I grew up, my mom, I don't know, my mom was like a low-key hipster. So she listened to a lot of things that weren't being, so it was really split. So my mom is very poised and very sophisticated, very I'm going to listen to this really like musical, deeply musical music. And my dad is like, I'm hood. I'm gonna listen to everything that curse and talk about all the illegal things. So I remember being like a little girl, and there's a video of me, and I'm like maybe 5 years old, and I'm rapping all the words to Thuggish Ruggish Bone. I don't know if you know that song, but it's just an old school rap song. So I was really torn, and I really, really loved like really hood rap as a kid. I didn't know what I was rapping about, obviously, but it was a good time. And then like with my mom, it was more like Fleetwood Mac was one of her big ones. She loved this artist named Malira. She loved Shaka Khan. Like Shaka Khan's my all-time favorite, and it's because of like that influence from my mom. She also loved Helen Reddy. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she sings "I Am Woman, Watch Me Roar." Yeah, so she loved Helen Reddy, and Helen Reddy only wrote about like crazy girls, but it was, yeah, I had a very interesting like a mix of music. And then I had an aunt who lived in Jamaica for a while, so it was a lot of reggae, and she was the one who basically raised me alongside my mother. So it was a ton of reggae. Um, like most of my musical interests now are the same things, but like as a little girl, I listened to literally everything. And I grew up in the city. I know people don't think so, but St. Louis is actually pretty diverse, and I went to a lot of international schools. So I really had a really diverse background of music. So I remember like being little trying to sing Spanish songs. I didn't know nothing. I still don't know any Spanish at all, but I remember being a little girl trying to sing those. But I also wanted to rap. Like I wanted to be Tupac. I also wanted to be Helen Reddy. Like I wanted to be everybody. And it was just, I grew up around so much different music. And even to this day, like in high school, I was an emo kid too, Teresa. My first concert was Panic at the Disco and the Hush Sound and Motion City soundtrack. I was in middle school, and yeah, like, so it was just really everything. I like anything you throw at me now, I'm just like, okay. I remember like someone took me in high school to a concert for a band called Gogo Bordello, and he's like it's like a funk. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's real strange, y'all. Y'all should go listen to it. You might like it. I don't know. It's like a gypsy punk rock band. I don't know. But yeah, so everything and anything I grew up listening to, and it's kind of still the same thing now.
That's great. Sharkisha, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, it just reminded me that I about my Spanish music too, that I like Monchi Alexandra, like Zacarias Ferreiras, you know, like Aventura, like Grupa, all that, like I grew up listening to, and I loved it because he used to put me, I was so young, I had no idea. And he used to get so emotional over these songs that I'm like, I have not lived this life yet. Like, why am I so invested into this music? So like, I used to get so like emotionally wrapped up in it. It like just changes you. And I did that, like he, Teresa was saying with the whole like emo looking in the car. I remember doing that with like the Spice Girls song. They have this like, as we go on, we remember. And I remember just sitting in the car, just being so dramatic about it. Like, oh, this is like, I'm in a movie right now, and this is the scene where it's raining outside, and like just taking it to a whole nother level. Like, I didn't have to do all of that. I was too young, but it was just kind of like, I love just being in that. So yeah, I forgot about that.
For me, obviously growing up in New Orleans, you know, I was surrounded by music all of the time, you know, with different jazz bands. You know, whenever I'd go to like a family friends like parties, you know, they would play like Reaper Brass Band and all those like famous songs that, you know, when you think of New Orleans, like this is the song that comes to mind type thing. Also grew up around bounce music, which is like, I consider our version of hip hop, mixed with like, you know, that's when you think of like twerking, like that's where it originated from, was, you know, New Orleans bounce genre. And also, you know, with my dad growing up and like just working in radio, grew up on, you know, just TLC and Escape and a lot of like R&B. And also my mom, she still has her CDs that she likes to play in the car. So I would remember, you know, when we were like going somewhere, my mom would put on an Al Jarreau CD. So I have a couple of songs in my playlist that are from Al Jarreau. And then Christmas time came around, she would always play Vanessa Williams' Christmas album. And it was just like, you know, all of those like memories just like, you know, sort of like poke at me. I just cherish them. And just, you know, those take me back, like all of those nostalgic moments. And then another one I wrote down was, and she listens to like a bunch of gospel artists. So I grew up on Fred Hammond and Donnie McClurkin, and those people. And then as far as like me personally, you know, I was a Disney kid. Radio Disney was something that I always listened to. And Radio Disney back then used to play everything from like Space Jam to the Cha-Cha Slide. Like they just had it going on. So that's how I grew up around, you know, just like listening to all these songs. And like whenever someone mentions it, it's like, yeah, I grew up on that because it came on Radio Disney. So Radio Disney was a big thing for me back then. Alrighty, so my next question is, who do you think is the biggest artist that comes from your hometown? I saw Theresa's face.
Nelly.
Okay.
Yes, Nelly did come from St. Louis.
Well, Tina Turner maybe, but we'll say Nelly.
Ooh.
Nelly, because he's Nelly.
Okay.
Kanye West. I'm gonna have to say Kanye West. No, that's just a hard one because there's so many people from Chicago. Fun fact, Fall Out Boy's from Chicago. But if you think about it, I mean, have you guys seen the videos of Kanye coming to Chicago? He literally has security. He'll tell the security to walk away, and he'll be like, "I'm fine. This is my city." And he literally will go like this. He will part it. The fans like they are the Red Sea. And as he walks, he says, "This is my city." Another one I get, well, used to be, I guess, but Chance. Chance is a little controversial these days, but I think I'm gonna stick with Kanye. But Fall Out Boy for me, they're my original Chicago people. I love them. So
that's awesome.
I can't even, I literally have no idea because I'm from New York City originally. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot. You have a lot of options. I can think of like Jay-Z, but I'm not really a big fan of him.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. So there was that. I'm not a big fan either, so that's probably why. I was gonna say Lady Gaga, and I was trying to Google it and see if that's where she's from. But I don't know. I can't really tell. It's so hard to know. Then I was like, I'm living in Rochester now, which is in my hometown, but I don't know who's from here either. So I don't know. This is like, that one's got me stopped. Oh, she's from New York. Okay, great. So Gaga is from New York. Woo-hoo. So yeah, I'll say her. We'll go with that.
Asifa, what about you?
Well, my childhood hometown was in South Africa, and I can't really think of any musicians from that small little town. And where I live now in Canada, it's also a smaller city. So I'll just go with Canada as a whole. Like, let's talk like Celine Dion and Bryan Adams and yeah, lots of Canadian artists that you guys might know.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. Right. Drake, right.
Yes, Drake. How could I forget it?
Yeah, more proud of, well, Drake than maybe some other artists, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think, let's see, New Orleans. I think Lil Wayne has to be up there. And then for me, Frank Ocean. Good old Frank Ocean. Yeah, he's from New Orleans. Let's see. What movie do you think has the most memorable soundtrack?
for me, hands down, The Greatest Showman. I know that literally every single song just uh, that's like my favorite movie. Because I would say Hamilton, but I figure that's more play. But The Greatest Showman just that's the one for me. Every single song gets me. Actually, I would when I was pregnant with my son, like I used to listen to it so much. So now when he's like really cranky, I can put it on and he'll still calm down to it. So yeah, it's crazy.
That's great.
So I don't know if people have seen it, but the first one and the second one, Guardians of the Galaxy, their soundtracks are phenomenal. And it's kind of like the movie is necessarily based around the soundtrack. So I think that's why it's so strong. But I love the soundtracks. I love the idea that he still, like, it's in the future and he still listens to everything on a cassette tape. So I think that that's really sweet. And Black Panther. Black Panther has a phenomenal soundtrack. So
yeah, R.I.P. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. Anyone else would like to share?
I was gonna say Black Panther, but I also think I don't know if you guys have ever seen Queen and Slim, but a lot of the music was made originally for it or was like remixes, like D'Angelo did remixes, and I was just like, oh my god, my neo soul self is just so satisfied. Like that soundtrack is one I can listen to over and over and over because it's very hip hop, it's very R&B, it's got that neo soul. It just feels so like just like black, like, if that makes sense. And I love it. It's probably my favorite.
For me, I'm gonna go with the soundtrack from Waiting to Exhale. Like, you know, produced by Babyface, like just the number of stars in that album is just unmatched. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Brandy, and Sitting Up in My Room is like one of my anthems, especially during quarantine and the pandemic. So that'll be my choice. So we have another question from one of our viewers, and this is an anonymous question, and it asks, let's talk health. How has music and lyrics helped you through a difficult time?
I'll start this one. Music for me has always kind of been therapy. When I was younger, I did go through musical therapy for different adjustments and things like that. Even now as a therapist, I specialize in music therapy. So I work with mostly adolescents who are in foster care and mostly live in residential services. So music and lyrics, not only is it a good way to express yourself. I don't know if you've ever talked with a teenager, but they do not like to express themselves. So doing things like music recording, it's a really good way for them to be able to just let it out and just let go. And when you listen to them, you can really hear like, oh my gosh, all this time I thought this kid was just like off the chain because he just didn't feel like doing the work. And no, he doesn't understand it. He's telling me I don't even write my lyrics down because I can't read and write, and he's 14. And it's like, oh my God, all this time I'm like over here thinking this, and it's complete opposite. But even for me, like with music, I've always said that I'm not a good communicator with words, which is why I teach kindergarten, because they're easier to talk to. But when it comes to music, it's easier for me to communicate that way. So if you're ever riding with me, just listen to like the music that I'm listening to, and that'll probably give you a good gauge on how I'm doing. Because if you ask people, most of the time people are going to say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. But if you, and I mean, studies have shown that like if you really listen to what people are playing, even just in there, you can be like at a dinner party, someone might turn on like some Adele, you need to go check on them. They might not be okay. They might not say it, but they may not be okay. So music is one of those things that like it's even been proven that it can affect your mood, it can bring you down, it can bring you up, it can help you cope. It is one of those things that's like an all-purpose healer, all-purpose type thing. So which is why I really got into music therapy. But yeah, I got off on a tangent. I'm sorry, but I'm done.
No need to apologize. That was great. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else would like to share with us on how music has helped them through a difficult time?
I'll share. Music, it's good and bad because, like, depending on my mood, I can choose a song that's gonna make me feel better or help me wallow in it. So I have to be really careful about that. But it, like, for example, some really uplifting times, like when I was like getting ready to get married and picking out the soundtrack for like that, and like I don't know if you guys have seen Pitch Perfect or not. Like, there's like 3 of them. So in the end of the second movie, they have the song where like, I got all I need when I got you and I. And that like song, every time I hear it, it like makes me emotional because it makes me think of my sister and like how close we are. Like, it's weird because like I picked a song for my husband and I didn't cry. And then I picked that song and I'm like, oh, this is the song I'm gonna sing. Because my sister was like the person who'd be giving me away. And I'd have my first dance with her versus with my dad. And so like, I'm like boohoo crying over that song. So it just like, it does help me, like, say for example, if I'm going through a breakup, I will like give myself like a time frame to kind of like feel all my emotions and get it over with. And then I always do like the Cher song, I'm strong enough to live, you know, just super dramatic, but it does help me because you just like get into that. And like the Kelly Clarkson, like Since You've Been Gone, and like Sober, and so like songs like that, just to kind of like help me, let me feel those emotions and like get it out in a really healthy way, and like be really like all into it, and then I can just kind of let that go and I can move forward. But it always helps me. I can't seem to like move forward without it. So it does, like, it helps me through everything. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
So this is, I feel like this is so emotional, but so the summer going into my junior year, my best friend died by suicide. And it was like about 24 hours after she saw Zella Day. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her. She is not very well known, but Maddie loved her. And literally like 12 hours before she died, Zella Day had retweeted her, you know, all this stuff had happened. And, you know, after she passed, I tried to listen to her music, but now it's been a little bit tainted, if that makes sense. So in a way, I feel like music, like Sharkisha was saying, music can help you out of that situation or it can make it worse. So I think you need to separate the music almost mentally to make sure that if you're trying to get out of that situation or out of that difficult time, you're not wallowing in it. And of course I have a crying playlist. Of course I do. Everybody's got one. But you know, I try not to listen to it. I try not to wallow in those sad songs because I know that it will, you know, bring me into a place where I don't want to be. I don't want to be anymore. So there's a group called Carmen. They do not exist anymore. Now the solo artist is by herself, but they had a song called Along the Road. And I swear on my life, I listened to that song on repeat for 6 months straight. And that was my song that like saved me in that situation. I don't know what it was. I don't even know how I found it. But yeah, I think everybody has music that they're like go-to. So when I'm sad, my go-to is Harry Styles. And you know, it's so interesting to see what everybody's go-to is because some people, their go-to is like headbanger music so that they can like get it out of their system and then go away. Some of it is like, I'm trying to think of someone else. It's like Adele. I feel like Adele is the perfect sad music because after you listen to her, you're like, you're no one in my life anymore. You're done. We're done. But I think at the same time as well, sometimes just listening to like funny music or listening to like crazy music really helps. So when I'm going through a difficult time, I always go back to Hamilton. That's my thing. Like I always go back. I can't listen to the whole soundtrack without crying at the end, without fail, every time. But you know, everybody has different music that they'll listen to, and everybody has different music that will will calm them, but you know, like we talked about, can also be detrimental. So it's very important to figure out what's going to put you through that difficult time and not what's going to suck you back into it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Theresa. Asifa, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, usually if I'm sad, I may want to listen to a certain type of music, but I don't want to listen to sad music, and I don't want to listen to lyrics, like especially like love songs, or I don't want to listen to that, because most of them are about heartbreak, and I don't want to go into that mode again. So I try to listen to uplifting music, or higher tempo, or something more edgy, like just make me feel more empowered. And yeah, I nothing in particular, but it is definitely powerful, like to adjust your mood. And everybody has their favorite music, like something that might trigger good memories from the past or not so good memories. So it's your choice, and but it's definitely a great tool, like music, to help you manage your emotions, and yeah. So
I think for me, if I'm like upset or angry, I'll go on like rage walks, and like, I'll I'll listen to like hood music, or like something that has like a hard beat, so I can like walk to the beat. But if I'm feeling like sad or like just, super depressed, I'll listen to either gospel music or like the soft Christian music. I have two different playlists for those, because they're just completely different. So yeah, those are my, I guess, going through a hard time type of scenarios. So I have a scenario for you guys. So you are given the once in a lifetime chance to meet your favorite artist or artist you love, 100%. So who do you choose, and what is one question that you would ask them?
Okay. I am gonna go with Kevin Gates. He's a rapper from Louisiana.
And
And
Rouge.
I love Kevin Gates. He's a really, really hood rapper, and he really talk about some things where I'm like, I'm a feminist, baby. I can't listen to this, but like, but I absolutely love him. I don't know what it is about him. I think if I got to ask him a question, it would be how does he now maintain his like more peaceful state while going through all these things that he's rapping about, and while living through all of these different issues. Because like, I'm from the hood, I'm 100% happy about it. Like I loved growing up there, and like he's also somebody from kind of a similar background, and he's really unapologetic about it as well. He's very proud of, like, he's been through things, but he's proud of what he's been through and how he's been able to navigate through. And I don't know if you know him or like how he is now. He's gotten this whole like peace about him. And I just want to know, like, what did you do? Like, of all these things that you were going through like going to jail, like losing contact with your kids, things like this, like, how did you attain that peace, and how are you maintaining it, especially as being a star and an artist, and people constantly looking at you and always having criticisms? How do you keep yourself peaceful and balanced?
That's great. Oh, your kids are so cute, Sharkisha.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I think that if there was someone that I could meet out of all the artists and ask one question, I'd probably pick Lizzo, because her music is so inspiring to me. And I think just her, and as a person, she's just amazing, talented, beautiful. And like, I always just want to ask her, like, how does she manage to you know, block out like the world basically telling her that she should like not love herself and like not be happy with who she is and still like create these amazing like songs that uplift people like us who look like her. So that would be like my question.
That's great. Thank you.
This is genuinely the hardest question that you've asked today. Like this, I have so many people in my mind because at first click, Harry Styles. But I don't know. The idea that you can ask them a question then took him out of my mind because I was like, I don't really care. Like I think I would just stare at him and cry. So I think if I had to have someone that I could ask a question to, there's a big part of me that is going with Stevie Nicks. And I think it's because like the journey of her life and the journey of like now because of a TikTok of a man skateboarding, drinking cranberry juice, Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks as a person is coming back. Like that is so crazy to me that because of this one viral video, now there are people that are literally like 12 years old being like, oh, I like Fleetwood Mac. Like that is so cool. And I love her. I really love her. The other one I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say too, Dolly Parton. I love Dolly Parton and she has been so much help during the pandemic. Like, I don't know if you guys have been following, but she donated millions of dollars to vaccination research. And she just did it silently. You know, she didn't tell anyone that she did it. People found out through, of course, paparazzi and publicity. She is so inspiring and she is so down to earth. And she came from a terrible childhood to being Dolly Parton. Like if you don't know who Dolly is, you live under a rock. So I think those would be my two. And just the questions would be like, you know, as women as well, just how they have endured so much hate and being in the paparazzi and in the limelight for, you know, both of them for almost 50 years. So they're both big inspirations to me. So.
That's awesome. Asifa, how about you?
Yeah, I not just one. There's so many that. Okay, so let me name one. If he were alive, it would have been like maybe Prince. but but again, I would be like probably just sitting and staring and blushing or whatever. But yeah, and you know, I'm not so starstruck right now, but I used to be when I was younger. Like I would probably when I was a kid, maybe I would be like, I'm Michael Jackson's #1 fan. So I would want to meet him. And then like now I would want to talk to someone like Damian Marley. You know, I just like, I want to talk about more soulful and conscious things like world, you know, events that are going on around the world. So, and what influences their, how they create music. So yeah, I just, you know, everyone's, the celebrities are just human beings. So I just want to, I don't really focus on that. I would focus on asking them about their craft and how they go about creating things and producing things and the impact that their music has around the world. So yeah.
For me, it is no other than Beyonce. One, because like she was like a big inspiration to me, like wanting to study journalism. And it's not the fact that like she writes or anything, you know, has like a journalism background. It was just when I was like in the 3rd grade, I was, you know, my dad was a talk show host on the radio. And so I really got into that at that age. And so I created a fake TV show called Beyonce Knows News. And I had everything in a binder. And so I would literally like, you know, be in front of the computer, like type out how the show would go, and basically my responses and her response, like we were having an actual conversation. She would be the only guest on the show because it is her show. And I did that for a couple of years. So that kind of like, you know, boosted my like desire to study journalism and communications. But a question that I would ask her is, out of all of the songs and, you know, content that she's created, what are her favorites? Like, I just want to know, like, you know, what part of your work do you love the most type thing. So that would be my person. So my next question is, I think 2020 was a big year for music, primarily because of the pandemic. And I really think a lot of creativity sparked. So reflecting on the year, what was an album that was released that year that you loved? And you can go into your Spotify and Apple Music for this one.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question is, you know, 2020 was a big year for music. What was an album released from that year that you loved or liked? I think mine would have to be, I have two. So the first one is Ariana Grande. I think she comes number two to Beyonce for me. And then Chloe and Halle, which Beyonce, those are Beyonce's proteges. Like, she signed them to their label. A lot of people think that they're twins, but they're actually not. One is older than the other. And that was just an amazing album. Like, since then, they've like done several like virtual performances for the different music award shows, and so they're also featured on the show Grownish. That's based off of Blackish. Like, that's one of like the franchises, but definitely like Chloe and Halle and Ariana Grande for me.
I was trying to double check and verify, but I can't be sure. I think Hamilton came out in 2020. I don't know. That's like,
I know it came out on Disney Plus, right? They
yeah,
released it on Disney Plus.
2020,
Yeah.
but the Hamilton,
the album itself probably was in rotation. I'm assuming longer than that, right?
it's been the album has been out since 2015.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
figured.
Yes.
I know this one's a hard question.
Well, here's the bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was gonna say Fine Line by Harry Styles. As you guys can tell, I'm a big fan. But it came out December 13th of 2019. That's what I was double checking. So, I mean, I could consider that 2020 if I'm being quite honest. But I know at least like that was the album that got me through 2020.
Yeah.
If I can change it a little bit, but that album really like it changed a lot for like Harry as an artist, and for like he gained billions. Just kidding. He gained a lot of fans because of that album, and I don't know. I'm just a really big fan of it, but also because of my boyfriend. We're big Smino household, and he has a new album that came out in 2020. So came out in April. Was double checking that as well. But we love Smino. So and he's from St. Louis, isn't he?
He is.
I was gonna say when you said you were from St. Louis, I was like, Smino. So yeah, that's the other album.
That's awesome. And we're running a little bit low on time, so I want to get to my wrap-up questions. So my first one is, what life lessons has music taught you?
I hate to sound cliche, but music has literally taught me everything I know. I probably listen to music more than my mama, which is why we yeah. But when it comes to music, I just feel like there's nothing I can't learn or get through when it comes to music. So
Thank you, Aida.
For me, it really has taught me how to like just find my voice and to just kind of be confident. Like one song in particular, I don't know if you guys have heard it, Brave. I wanna see you be. It's like I think it's by somebody else, but I'm not sure. And I remember like that was a time where I was like making a lot of changes in my personal life, and it was really hard for me to like speak my truth to like, for example, my family, and just like feel empowered with my decisions. And that song just kind of like really helped me to just be like, this is important to you. It's okay to say it, you know, and then not everyone's gonna agree. And so like that was one of the songs. So just like songs like that really helped me to just to like own myself and just like to feel powerful and feel confident and to feel comfortable like stepping outside of my boundaries.
Awesome.
I think something that I learned, which is really healthy to learn, is that not every singer sounds the same. So, you know, like Sid was saying, when we were listening to the radio growing up, everybody sounded the same. Like everybody that was like a Disney Channel star, they were all the same, which is great. They were all extremely talented, but I was like, I can't hit those notes. I can't sing that high. I can't sing that loud. I'm never going to be like them. I'm never going to be able to sing those songs. And then I started listening to people that, you know, had lower voices or that sang actual like emotional songs instead of just being like, let's go out and party, and which is fine. You know, everybody's different, or everybody's music is different, but I think, you know, it's taught me that everybody is their own individual. And something else that I love is it's taught me to just kind of like be unapologetically myself, because I couldn't tell you how many times when I was younger, when I was in high school, someone would see like the music I was listening to, or when Spotify started and you could see publicly what people were listening to. And they were like, are you kidding me? Like, you're listening to the Cat soundtrack? And I'm like, hell yeah, I am. You know, like it just, you listen to whatever is going to make you happy. And if someone makes fun of you for what you listen to, or if someone judges you for what you listen to, that person does not need to be in your life. And that can be taken into so many different levels. You know, that's, if you have to change who you are music wise or personality wise, you know, so that someone will like you, they are not your friend. So that's why I've been so open my whole life about like loving One Direction and loving boy bands. And, you know, because if someone's going to make fun of you for that, then obviously they have, except for, I will say, if you listen to like deep country, like that country that's on the radio, I will make fun of you. I'm not gonna lie. Will I still be your friend? Of course. But if your favorite type of genre is like dirt roads, drinking a Coors Light, you need to listen to new music in the most loving way I can possibly say. But other than that, I have no judgments on music.
That's great. Asifa, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so music has provided me and my family with a lot of hope and escapism. Like when we first immigrated to Canada in the 80s, and just adjusting to a new culture and not feeling like you belonged. And but even before we came here, and I mean in South Africa, there was always the movement music, like anti-apartheid, you know, the struggle for equality. So there's all those kind of conscious types of music, and reggae or dance hall, you know, I mean, all those kinds of, the lyrics really resonated with us. So when we first came to, like, we would listen to music that we used to listen to in South Africa when we first came to Canada. So then it would remind us of our home that we left. And it actually, so it helped us navigate the change and adjust. Like it gave us hope. And during some of my tough personal times, I mean, it's also like escapism. So yeah, music is a big part of life for me and for a lot of people. It's like sound. You know, we're fortunate. Like, I mean, not everybody can actually listen to music. Some people are hearing impaired, or maybe they are mute, you know, as well. So vibration. It's about energy and vibration. So I think like some people I know who are maybe hearing impaired, they can still listen to be like, not listen in the way that we do, but to different kind of beats and vibes. So yeah, we have to keep
That's
that in
awesome.
mind, because it's quite, I mean, not to be ableist, right? Like we have to keep in mind there are people that are not able to listen to music in the same way that we are. So but it serves so many different purposes, and it's very important. Like, I think it's like water. The voice, you know, it's not just singing, but even the way we speak. So it's related, and just sounds in nature. Yeah, even if you don't listen to music that your fellow human beings create, you can sit out in nature and listen to the birds sing, right? So that's my perspective of it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great ending to our conversation. Thank you so much, Asifa, for, you know, sharing your insights and, you know, what music means to you. And so with that being said, I want to turn it over to Shade's founder and publisher, Michelle FITZHUGH-CRAIG, and then I will follow up with my ending quotes.
Thank you, Sydney, and thank you, ladies. This has been really good. I see some of our guests have, you know, joined in the conversation, and I think music is something that is always it connects us, it heals us, it excites us, and I'm just really excited that we were able to bring this to you today. And I think there will probably be another one. So just wanted to say a special thank you to Sharkisha, AIDA, Asifa, THERESA, and of course, Sydney today. And if anyone has questions that come to mind later about this talk, or just anything we're doing, or where you can find it later, if you have ideas for future topics, please let us know. And also, if you want to be a part of the Shades Magazine team or a member of EWIP, please contact us at infoshadesmagazine@gmail.com or DM us at any of our social media accounts. And a final reminder that today's discussion was recorded and will be uploaded soon, this weekend, for viewing, sharing, and additionally, the opinions, viewpoints, and or personal endorsements expressed in any published print, audio, or video content are those of the individual only and do not necessarily represent the views of Shades Magazine or EWIP. And as I turn this back over to Sydney, I just want to say we're going through some difficult times again. You know, everyone was waiting. Oh, it's the end of the year, but that's just a day. You know, it's just January 1st. It's another day. It doesn't mean that the year is going to change. So we need to stay aware of everything that's going on around us. We need to stay safe. You need to mask up. I'm sure everyone on this call is. And just, you know, be kind to other people the best you can, and just be careful out there. It's, you know, I hate to have to say that, but we just really have to. And I send light to all of you guys. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Just be careful and be safe and be blessed, and keep being the wonderful young ladies that you are, that, you know I'm proud of. And Janice, who's on the call, who's our managing editor, we're so proud of, you know, how you hold up yourself, how you discuss things with us and share. And it's just been beautiful. And we're looking forward to the future. So that's it. Sydney.
Thank you, Michelle. So today I have two quotes that I wanted to share with you guys. So the first one is from BKS Iyengar, who said, "The rhythm of the body, the melody of the mind, and the harmony of the soul create the symphony of life." And then the second one is from Macklemore, who said, "Music is therapy. Music moves people. It connects people in ways that no other medium can. It pulls heartstrings. It acts as medicine." So with that being said, thank you so much for joining, everyone. I had a lovely time just speaking all about music with you all. Music touches me like no other, and I don't know what the world would be without it. So with that being said, everyone, please have a great and safe weekend, and I hope to see you next month for our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.